Hello, welcome to the video notes for lesson 9-5, sequence of rigid motion. This begins on page, 37 in your notes packet. Our learning target, I can graph the image of a figure using more than one, so that's really important. Let's highlight or underline that. More than one sequence of rigid motions. Now that word rigid, that's what happens when we do these transformations and the shape and size stays the same. So that's why we focused on the translation, reflection, and rotation. Alright, so we have our first example. And the first example is graph and label the image of triangle ABC after a reflection over the x-axis and a translation using the rule x minus 6, y plus 2. So, we don't actually have to do the graphing part. The graphing has been done for us. It's over here. So what you see is the original figure is here. So let's put an O in there, and we'll do that down here as well. The original figure is ABC, triangle ABC. Now, this triangle here, is the first image, but it's not the final image. That's why it's not labeled with the letters and the prime symbol. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to reflect over the x-axis. Now, I'm going to give you the rule for reflecting over the x-axis. And some of you may already know this rule. The rule is when you reflect over the x-axis, the x-coordinate, the first number, stays the same. The y-coordinate, the second number, becomes the opposite. So if it's all positive numbers, which they are, they become negative. Alright, so let's talk about our points. So we have points A, B, and C. And point A is 2, 3. And I'm reflecting over the x-axis, and when I do, it becomes 2, negative 3. And that's this point here. Point B is 4, 2. And when I reflect over the x-axis, oh, by the way, so the two transformations we're doing are reflection and translation. So the first one we're doing is this, and the second one we're doing is this. And it is important to go in order because sometimes you'll end up in a different spot if you go in a different order. Okay, back to what we were doing before. So if I use the rule, xy becomes x negative y, 4, 2 becomes 4, negative 2. And that's this point here. And then the last one is 4, 6. And that obviously becomes 4, negative 6. And that's this point here. Alright, so now I have my first image, but that's not my final image. So I just did my first transformation. Now I need to do the second transformation, and that's on the graph below. So we're going to translate each point 6 units to the left and 2 units up. In other words, we're going to use the rule, xy, arrow, x minus 6, y plus 2. Now, I'm going to be using all of these down here as my starting xy. So I start with 2, negative 3, and I'm going to subtract 6 from 2. So it's 2 minus 6, it's negative 4. Now I'm going to add 2 to negative 3. Whoops, let me fix something here. Sorry. This is going to be our final answer, so it's going to be A prime. So what did I say? It's negative 4. And then negative 3 plus 2 is negative 1. And then that's this point here, my A prime on the graph next to it. And I'm going to do that for all three of these. So I'll go ahead and write the other 2 points that I'm going to use. 4, -2, and 4, -6. 4, -2 is going to become my b prime. So, what is 4 minus 6? I'm using my rule, that's -2. And -2 plus 2 is 0. So that's my b prime, that's right there. And then my last one, c prime. So 4 minus 6, that's -2 again. -6 plus 2, that's -4. And there's my c prime. And you're done. That is what happens when you do a sequence or more than one rigid motion or more than one transformation. Alright, so that was page 37. Let's go ahead and take a look at page 38. We have 2 examples here. One we're going to do together. The other one I'm going to have you do on your own. I'm going to help you set everything up though. Okay, so the first problem, the first example, graph and label the image of triangle ABC after a rotation of 180 degrees and a reflection over the y-axis. So here's our first and our second transformation. So I might as well split my workspace in half. I've got my first over here and my second over here. Now, what you need to do is it helps to come up with the rule. Because if you come up with the rule, then you can just finish everything. So when I rotate this 180 degrees, I can't do this on the, well I can, but I don't want to clear the screen. Turn your paper upside down and see where point A is. Now right now, actually, point A starts at 2, 3. If you turn it upside down and see where the image of that is, you will see, because that's 180 degrees, 2 turns, it's at -2, -3. Now, looking at the original point and where it ends up, it's pretty easy to tell that the rule is going to be -x, -y. So now, all I need to do is write down my other 2 points. So B is at 4, 2. And C is at 4, 6. And if I apply the rule to that, I get -4, -2. And I get -4, -6. So now what I can do, this is my original, I'm going to draw my image. So it's at -2, -3. So 1 point is right here. -4, -2, that's right here. And -4, -6, right here. Connect your points. Now we don't need to label this. If you want to put a 1 in the middle for the first transformation, that's fine, because this is not our final image. The second transformation is a reflection over the y-axis. The rule for that is, so if you reflect over the y-axis, I'll do this in red, this point here, which is going to end up being A prime, goes here, here, and here, here, ends up there at 2, -3. So we started at -2, -3, and we end up at A prime, which is 2, -3. So if I look at the original coordinates, -2, -3, how did I end up at 2, -3? Well, basically it's the same as what I started with. However, the x value is the opposite. How do we show that? Negative sign. So now apply that rule to all 3 of these. So I've still got -4, -2, and -4, -6. This one's going to become my b prime. So I'm going to take the opposite of the x term, so -4 becomes 4, -2. That's b prime. Let's go ahead and plot that, 4, -2. And then c prime becomes 4, -6. So over 4 down 6, Put a point. Now, finish your drawing. Label your points. A prime, B prime, C prime, and you are done. Okay, so really quick, I'm going to have you do the last one on your own, but I am going to help you set it up. Graph and label triangle ABC after a translation using the rule. So they actually give you the rule for the first one. And a reflection over, so here's the first one, and the second one is a reflection over the x-axis. So split your workspace in half. The first is going to be using the rule, the rule xy becomes x minus 8 y, so the y value will stay the same. And then for the second one, you're going to reflect over the x-axis. So remember to take your new coordinates as your xy. So whatever you have here underneath this part right here becomes your xy. So it's almost like these values up here, they just moved over one spot and we did another transformation. And you're going to reflect over the x-axis. Now when you reflect over the x-axis, x stays the same, y becomes the opposite. So this time it's going to be x negative y. So I give you your rules. I want you to come up with your final coordinates on your own. You got to write down your A, B, and C here, what the coordinates are. Alright, so that's it for this video. If you were confused, go back and rewatch it, or ask a friend or a parent for help. Good luck, and we'll see you in math.